Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Two Way Tonight. It's a very weird news day. I don't know if it's because it's a holiday week or I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's perhaps because if you're a normal person, you're watching the World Cup. Around the world, they watch the World Cup. Here in America, they don't really. But I was on LaGuardia Airport today and I walked past a restaurant or bar, I don't know what it was, and they had like seven giant screens, all up, all showing the World Cup. And people were watching like I was in Barcelona. It was very nice. But most of you don't watch the World Cup because you're Americans and you hate the beautiful game. Um, someone, someone sent me an email. One of you sent me an email said, "Don't give the World Cup scores because some of us record the matches and watch them later." Uh, as a newsman, I'm sorry I can't do that. You don't want to know the World Cup scores? Don't watch the show. That's all I can say. Anyway, welcome in. Two great guests. Once again, I couldn't be more excited about our two guests because I really want to know what they think about a lot of stuff. The president traveled to North Dakota today and he talked a ton. I think he talked on five separate occasions so far, but he didn't say anything all that interesting, unless you like the Don Rickles routine, which he did in his major address in North Dakota. And the vice president spoke quite at length as well. Maybe said more interesting things than the president, both in his speech and in his interactions with reporters. So we'll hear a lot from the vice president, maybe a little bit from the president. Dow closed slightly down, S&P slightly down, NASDAQ down. No one can really tell me why. As always, these markets do what they want. Oil prices fell. No idea what's going on in the talks. Although I read in Qatar between the U.S. and Iran through intermediaries, I did read. I found this hilarious. I did read in Semaphore, just a little thing with no real context around it. It said that the U.S. was trying to convince the Iranians that they would make more money with sanctions relief and investment than if they try to toll the strait with Oman and make money off the strait. And I thought, well, whether that's true mathematically or not, I hope it's not the case that we're pathetically pleading with the Iranians, like, hey, we're going to help you make even more money. Anyway, that caught my eye. There's a lot going on with socialism and the Democrats. It's a topic that I find very interesting, and I can't wait to hear what Steve Elmendorf has to say about it because Steve's personal politics aside, whether you think he's a moderate or a liberal or a progressive, he's definitely not a socialist. And he's from the Rahm Emanuel School of Just Win, Baby. It's called the Rahm Emanuel, some call it the Al Davis School. But I really want to know what Steve thinks about all these things, so we'll talk to Steve about that. As always, we'll want your participation. So if you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand and we'll get to your questions before too long. I'd love lots of questions today because there's so much weird stuff in the news. So please raise your hand if you're on the platform. If you're watching on X or YouTube, please don't put smack in the chat. I'd appreciate that as well. We talk about participation here, and I'm involved now in issuing a challenge to you all. We talked about it this morning on the morning meeting. The two-way community so engaged, so concerned. Almost all of you, I would say not all of you, but almost all of you are concerned about helping America, being part of a community that believes in the country reaching its highest and best, not lowest and least. And so we're partnering with USA Facts. It's an organization that is for more government data, taking government data, displaying it. Why is that important? Because whether you're talking about how to build roads, where to build roads, talking about weather forecasts, and what the government should do on that, food safety, anything you're talking about, crime statistics, you need strong government data because without strong government data, you can't make informed decisions. And I've known throughout my career how lax the government is in putting stuff out in a timely and complete fashion. And so what USA Facts is asking folks to do is to sign a petition that calls on the government to release information quickly and completely. It's very simple. It's our information. And so I'm asking the two-way community to sign the petition. The challenge to you all is get better information. You'll read it and you'll see it's very simple. It just says it's going to be presented to the government and to Congress and to say, let's do this. Let's modernize the way the government releases facts. Go on usfacts.org. You'll see a pink banner. Just click on it. Add your name. We're trying to reach 100,000 signatures as a group before the end of the month. It's a lot, but I'm asking everybody now to pause what you're doing as you listen to me, whether live or recorded. Grab your other screen and type in usafacts.org. Steve Ballmer, who's the founder of USA Facts, has signed the petition. I've signed the petition. I'm asking members of the two-way community to sign it. So go on usafacts.org and sign the letter. Click on the pink banner. It'll take you just a few moments to do it. So I'll pause now and ask all of you to do it. Please, usafacts.org, sign the open letter that will be presented to the government, asking them to take one of our most important resources, which is government data, collect it, publish it in a timely fashion, and let it inform the debates in this country. Okay, I'll pause for one moment. Go sign it. While you do that, I'll bring in our guest. Steve Elmendorf is here, a longtime Democratic strategist, a member of the morning meeting community, and one of our guest hosts. Steve, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you, Mark. Good
Steve, would you describe yourself, and these are not tendentious, would you describe yourself as a socialist?
I am not a socialist now.
Okay.
I'm a capitalist.
Okay.
I'm a democratic capitalist.
Would you describe yourself as more pro-Palestinian or more Israel?
I am in the sort of my age group in the historic supporters of Israel who are extremely disappointed in the current government there and believe that the current government is doing a terrible job and is putting the relationship with the United States at risk.
Right. But you'd say you're pro-Israel.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're not pro-Hamas.
No.
Okay. Do you believe that ICE should be abolished?
No.
Do you believe that the police should be abolished and prisons should be abolished?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that Israel committed genocide in Gaza?
No.
Okay. Hogan, would these are not the positions of a socialist, right?
What you're saying are his positions?
Steve's demonstrated through his answers, not just his assertion that he's not a socialist, that he's not from the socialist wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, what he clearly showed was that he cannot run in today's Democrat Party.
Okay, we'll get to that. Hogan, thanks for being here. Hogan, I know exactly what you think of the politics of the socialist takeover of the Democratic Party. Steve,
exactly.
I'm saying, I know what you think. I do. I don't know what Steve thinks. And Steve, I said takeover to
the
just get under your
socialists have
skin.
not taken over the
I know. I
Democratic
said that
Party.
to get over
First
under your
statement you made
skin.
is wrong.
I know. I said that to get under your skin. They haven't taken it over, but they're trying. Here's do we have the ROM clip yet? Did you guys pull that? Anyway, we talked this morning.
Not yet. Hang on.
We talked this morning on the morning meeting about Governor Shapiro, who you're a big fan of.
Yes.
Did you see him on Morning Joe this morning?
I did not. I must.
Okay.
I did not watch Morning Joe.
Okay. He was asked about the socialist takeover of the party. And again, I'm saying takeover to be tendentious. But he was asked about the victories of socialists winning Democratic primaries. And he dodged it. He said, I don't agree with everything they said. And he only said that when pressed. Basically, but what he said was, there's a through line between all of us. We all want to beat Donald Trump, who's corrupt and horrible. He did not do anything and he was asked, for instance, should there be, well, let me ask you these two more questions. Do you think that Senate filibuster should be eliminated by the Democrats?
I do not.
And do you think the Senate should, when the Democrats take majority at some point, do you think they should expand the size of the Supreme Court?
I think that's a legitimate conversation for discussion.
Okay, but do you support it?
I don't know. I need to.
So he was asked that, and he said everything should be on the table. We need radical reform. He said radical. So I read Governor Shapiro's answer as trying to avoid getting on the wrong side of the socialist wing of the party. That's how I read his answers. And then I asked the question, who in the party who might run for president is going to stand up and say, we want a big tent? These people believe a lot of the things we believe, but this is not a socialist party. This is not a party that stands for abolishing ICE, abolishing the police, abolishing prisons. This is not a party that stands for celebrating Hamas over Israel. This is not a party. Now, James Carville has done this, but who in elected office who might run for president, who should do that, who would do that? That'll be my last soliloquy here. Should someone of an authority in the party, should Ken Martin say that? Should someone say that, or it's not necessary, or it's too risky?
I don't think at this point it's necessary, Mark, because I think this whole narrative is not, the socialists are not taking over the Democratic Party. They have won a small number of primaries. If you look at the total number of primaries we've had this cycle, they have not won every primary. They've won a small number of primary in deep blue districts. Yes, they are a force, just like there are forces in the Republican Party on the far right that I'm sure Hogan and others don't like. But they are not running the Democratic Party in any sense. And they're not, despite the fact that Republicans want to make them the face of the Democratic Party, they are not the face of the Democratic Party.
Hogan, what do you think of what Steve just said?
Um, hmm. Parts of it, fine. I know he wants to distance himself from the faction within the party that is where all the enthusiasm is. It's where the money is. It's where the excitement is. Um, Sadly, though, I think that's where the party is headed. It was a deep blue district here or there in New York. Now it's Colorado. There'll be others. Michigan, of course, one of the other great ones that we're going to see some real crazy folks emerge from. Um, I still think the party is trying to do some soul searching, and yeah, there's some factions on the Republican side that are far right. Don't get me wrong, but they don't. Their through line isn't anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism. It's wanting to make sure the country runs better. It's wanting to make sure freedom still exists in this country.
Well, those aren't what Nick. That's not what Nick Fuentes is for.
Yeah,
He's
there are
not on
some
the far
significant
right, though.
anti-Semitic through lines in the far right of the Republican Party. Let's be
He's
clear.
not on the far right, though.
What is he?
He says he hates MAGA. He hates Republicans. You tell me what
Okay.
he is.
Okay. Steve, I hear you, and we'll run through some news, but I'm just so interested in what you guys think about this. I hear you that you're, and I'm not saying you're spinning. You minimize compared to some the degree to which this is a political problem for the party. You're on the this isn't such a big problem side. Is it a problem at all? Are you comfortable with the status quo of where this sits?
No,
Or-
I think, look, I think both parties have problems with people on the extreme. I think I would look at the Matt Bennett, John Cowan op-ed they just posted in the Washington Post saying we need to call these people out and we don't need to be for them. I totally agree with that. But
Let me stop you there. What does it mean to call them out?
I think you have to be very specific when people say things that you disagree with or that you think are harmful. You have to call them out for it. Absolutely.
But should you?
But
Some people, for instance, on this platform and elsewhere, have said they're Democrats. I don't support Graham Plattner. He's too extreme in some of his views, and he's written things, and he's had a Nazi tattoo. I don't support him. Is that what Democrats should say about socialists who are House nominees?
no, I think you have to look at it case by case and see what people's records are and what people's platforms are before you decide.
Okay, what
I think
about
Graham Plattner's a good example.
Chevalier?
I'm not, Mark. I'm not going to go down the list of individuals and
Well, just
see
do
whether
one.
I support them
I'll
or
just
not.
do.
I'm not
I'll
gonna
just do
that,
one.
Mark. I'm not gonna do that, Mark.
Not even her. Okay, but if you believe in calling out people, if David Duke ran for a Democratic nomination,
Yeah. Again, I don't know enough about her. I haven't researched her. I don't have information about her, and I don't like to say things about things I don't know about.
Okay.
I will say that when people say things that are stupid, when people say things that are wrong, you need to call them out. Absolutely. Everybody does not get a seat at the table. No question.
Well,
I also
Hogan,
think, though, a lot of this primary talk misses the point. If you look at like the Colorado governor's primary, it had nothing to do with socialism. It had to do
Yes.
with fight or not fight, and it had to
Right,
do with generationally. And many of the primaries in the House are much more about generation than they are about ideology.
Was Michael Bennett the old guy in that race?
Michael Bennett was
He's my age. That's why I asked.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say, he was not beaten by, he was beaten by a sitting attorney general.
How old is the Attorney General? Is he much younger than
In his
Michael?
early 40s. I
Okay.
think.
And of course also establishment versus anti-establishment. Even
That
though
was much more
Yeah.
fight
Yeah.
versus someone
Yeah.
who's more cerebral.
Yeah. Hogan, if you were the chief of staff at the RNC or the comms director at the RNC, how would you outline a way to exploit for political gain the nomination of some socialists in the Democratic Party? What would that be like? Would that be something the president and everybody should talk about every day, or?
Yeah, I think first things first, I think they should define it. You'll remember a big bill. I can't remember if it was a Build Back Better or whatever bill it was that Biden was trying to do. And we had put out some talking points and messaging on it. It was a socialist takeover. No one knew what that meant. So it was wildly popular. When we added the phrase big government socialism, then people got really angry and it went to an 80-something, 85% negative view. I don't think people understand what socialism or communism is or what it does to a particular country. That's why they're gravitating toward it. And I guess I would say there are only one of two things that can be true. Either they know what it is and they're literally trying to destroy the country, or they don't know, and that's just ignorance. Either way, though, it's not a good thing. But getting the information out there with all these this truckload of money that the RNC apparently has, and Republicans have raised all this cash. They need to start explaining what these things are, because when you hear all of these Democrat candidates talking about how free stuff is going to be the norm and everything's going to be great, we're going to start taking property from folks, people go, yeah, that's a great idea. No one explains what it is. So if it were me, first things first, I'd explain what it is and what they're supporting.
When I grew up, Mark, socialism involved one of the things that people didn't like about socialism was it was the government taking positions in corporations. So is Donald Trump a socialist?
Yeah, it's a good question. Hogan,
I don't
what do you
know.
think about that?
Like it's asserting that he gets 10% of a company. That seems pretty social. That's like a Bernie idea to me.
What do you mean that he gets 10% of a company?
Yes, he did. He demanded that Intel give him 10%. Yes, he did. The government.
No, I didn't say he didn't. I'm saying, what do you
Government
mean?
ownership of private enterprise. Government ownership of private enterprise. When I last checked, when I studied history in college, government ownership of private enterprise was like communist.
You're talking about the money that they reinvested into America's economy?
All right. I'm stopping this.
I'm talking about the government taking a position in a corporation, first of all, private sector enterprise.
Steve, I got to correct one thing. You know how many years older Michael Bennet is than the Attorney General who beat him? 3 years older. Voters in Colorado are discerning, but I don't know if you can call that generational change. Here's a Republican comms official talking about the issue of the Democratic Party being taken over by socialism. I'd say the top three would be Kevin Madden, Hogan Gidley, and this guy. I can't remember his name. 5D, please.
At speeds that nobody thought possible. Finally, Theodore Roosevelt understood that whatever our background, we are all Americans. We're Americans first, united under one flag. And we don't wipe our hands on a flag. Did you hear the person? One of our communist people. But they cleaned it up. The press cleaned that statement up. You know that, right? She didn't use the word hands. She used a different word, a disgusting word. They're disgusting pigs. She didn't use the word hand. They said hand. She used another word. You know what word I'm talking about. These people are a disgrace. That's why Theodore Roosevelt boldly fought for what he called the new nationalism. The word nationalism is a very interesting.
Hogan, if you were workshopping that with your friend, the president, how would you tell him he did there?
Really well.
Really well.
Nailed it.
Yeah. How about any tweaks?
Hold on. No, I think Steve pointed out something that's important. He said he didn't want to get into each of these candidates. He didn't know anything about them. That's the problem. People don't know that much about them. And when you talk about Chevalier, who you brought up, who said she wanted to, what was the two words she used in the group that she founded? Eradicate America through violence. Okay, people need to understand what that means and what she wants to do. And it's incumbent upon the media, as you well know, Mark, to start to ask these questions and let them answer what those statements actually mean and what they're willing to do to accomplish the goals that they themselves have set out with their own words. And that in politics, as Steve well knows, is one of the most difficult things to fight back against, is using your own words against you. So it's not that there's people out there on the Democrat side saying kind of opaque, you're using some language that you can kind of dance around the edges. They're literally telling you they want to take over, you take houses from people. They're literally telling you what they want to do to destroy America. I think
and there are people on the Republican side doing the same thing.
Steve, which people on the
Republican side doing the same thing, saying crazy. There are people on the extremes of both parties saying things that are crazy.
Steve, would you differentiate
between... Is Barack
between...
Obama extreme?
Would you differentiate between...
not at all.
Steve, would you differentiate between people who are party nominees and podcasters?
Absolutely.
So are there any...
But again, I would also differentiate every person who's running for every office in America is not the,
Right, but are there Republicans who are nominated by the party who you would cite as extreme?
I mean, you go back through Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's not with us anymore, or
currently, in this cycle,
or Paul Gosar. I mean, go down the list.
This cycle,
I come up with lots of crazy things, inappropriate things that Republicans who are in elected office have said.
Right. All right. Here's Rahm Rahm on CNN, did we find out what Wolf asked him? I'm asking my colleagues. Did we find out what Wolf asked him? Anyway, Rahm was asked some version of, what do you think of the socialists take over the Democratic Party? His answer very similar to Governor Shapiro's. And Steve, again, I want to know what you think of this, and then Hogan, what you think of this. Here's Rahm on CNN with Wolf talking about his vision of what the right messages for the midterms.
The most corrupt administration literally, I would say this coming from Chicago, the type of corruption here would make an alderman blush in the city of Chicago. And you cannot do it from a minority state. You can only do it when you have your hand on the gavel and have people come up and testify. How is it that you got this kind of cryptocurrency, and why is it the UAE invested in it? How is it you got that jet, and yet the American people are left with $4 gas? And unless we start flipping red to blue, you're going to just hear it get red in the face. And that's only red you're going to see. So I'm not impressed with flipping blue districts. I want to spend my resources taking red districts to blue and having new Democrats that know how to deal with corruption, hold this administration accountable, and advance the progressive policies of either health care, minimum wage, or financial reform, or in fact, creating jobs that help American people. That to me is the ticket, and Democrats have to wake up, smell the coffee. Other than that, we're just basically messing around.
What do you think of that, Steve?
There's nothing Ron just said that I wouldn't agree with.
Yeah. Do you think voters care that the president got a jet and that the president made money,
Yes.
billions? They do.
Yes,
What,
I
how do
think
you,
I think the corruption is starting to break through.
tell me, tell me what you're basing it on. What are you basing that on?
The contrast of that when people are in economic distress, and when he is not out every day talking about what he is doing to help them economically, I think the contrast is very much breaking through with independents.
I have huge confidence in your intuition and your experience. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but do you have any quantitative data that suggests you're right?
Well, I think the polling shows that people do not have confidence in Donald Trump's stewardship of the economy or inflation at the moment. So he's certainly not making any progress on economic issues. And one of the reasons I think he's making no progress on economic issues is he's too focused on his redesign of Washington, D.C. and his petty corruption, not petty, his large amounts of corruption for himself.
Hogan, let's take the president regularly commenting on, through True Social and what he says, building new things in Washington. Is that, for the politics of him and for the party in the midterms, neutral, negative, or positive?
What do you mean building new things in Washington?
The arch, the reflecting pool, the ballroom. Is that politically? That's a simple question. Is it net negative, net positive, or neutral?
I think it's a net positive, but I don't think
Okay, net positive. And what about the fact that it's now been revealed through this long disclosure that the president has made literally billions of dollars amidst news reports that his sons have made a lot of money through business deals that are contiguous to government policies, and his son-in-law is negotiating with people in the Middle East at the same time he's taking money for them for his investment fund. Are news reports about those things net positive, net negative, or neutral as relates to Republican prospects in the midterms?
I will tell you that corruption will be a net negative for both parties if the other party can make the other one.
But I'm asking you, what's in the headline? Steve and most Democrats I know say this is an extraordinary net negative for the party because at a time when Americans are struggling financially, the president's making billions of dollars and his family. So do you agree that that's a negative or not?
Yeah, no, but I think corruption will be a massive issue in this campaign, yes.
I don't understand what that means.
Well, because he's a billionaire already. So a billionaire making money, I don't know if that really is a big deal to a lot of people other than, blue counties.
Steve, do you think in Republican circles at the NRSC, the House and Senate campaign committees, you think amongst Republican electeds, they agree with you or they agree with Hogan privately that this stuff, the talking about building big fancy buildings and how much money the president and his family have made, you think Republicans privately disagree with Hogan?
I do.
Yeah. What makes you think that?
Republicans I've talked to in Washington State and elected officials I've talked to, yes.
Yeah.
And I think, again, they think it's a missed opportunity in that every moment he talks about his new golf course or his new arch, that he's not talking about what he's doing to help people in the economy, and what he's doing to steward the economy is both a missed opportunity and it's reminding people that he's out of touch.
Yeah. Hogan, you're putting me in an uncomfortable position because I like and respect you so much, but my experience is the same at Steve's. When I talk to Republican consultants, they just say, give us a chance, Mr. President. Stop talking about all this stuff and stop doing all these deals. The New York Post wrote an editorial yesterday, your friends at the Post, scathing about the president and his sons and the deals they're doing. So I just say again.
Oh, I think it'll be an issue. I don't disagree with either.
Well, but you didn't say it would be a net negative. Almost every Republican I know thinks it's a net negative, and some think it's a substantial net negative.
Well, if it's a net negative, I don't think it'll be a huge net negative, but also it depends on how these things are litigated and how you push them forward. Because if the Democrats can try and make that appear as though it's untoward, whether it is or isn't, or whether it's legal or not, and they make it look illegal, then it's a problem. If they fail at that, then it won't matter. There are a lot of ifs here.
Okay. Raise your hand if you want in on the conversation. As I said, there's just a ton of sound bites we could be playing here.
Hey,
yeah.
Like, there's billions and billions of dollars they are finding in fraud in the federal government. Who gets tagged with that? If Republicans can successfully say these are all Democrat programs, they're going to Democrat scam stuff, they're using them to tip the scales and grease the pockets of their, okay, then it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I will tell you, I think fraud will be the men and women's sports of this midterm election, at least one of them. And if you can make it stick to one side or the other, then it's going to be a problem for that person, no question.
Okay. Let's go to some questions because I have 100 sound bites and I can't pick amongst them. So let's go to Alan. Alan, unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for Steve and for Hogan, and thank you for being part of Two Way.
Thank you. I'm Alan, and I'm in New York City. Do you think it's now essentially inevitable that the 2028 Democratic nominee will at least have, at a minimum, have to devote pretty significant effort to courting and appeasing the DSA aligned wing of the party, which includes people like Hassan Piker, and that the DSA will have significant influence over the platform adopted at the convention?
Yeah.
And if not, what could realistically stop that from happening?
Yeah, Alan, these are great questions. Steve?
Party platforms having worked on them in the past, party platforms are meaningless in both parties. And I don't think that I disagree with your premise that the DSA or anybody else will have. The person who will write the platform of the Democratic Party will be the nominee of the party.
Leave the platform aside. Yeah. Let's say you're campaign manager for somebody running for president, and they're going to New Hampshire, and you know that there are going to be DSA members there raising hands at town halls and heckling them if they've never, for instance, called Israel's actions in Gaza genocide, or they don't support single-payer health care. Is that those kinds of moments and just the general influence of the DSA, however limited you think it is? Alan's question is that something the Democratic nominee is going to have to deal with or not?
In every Democratic primary, you have to deal with for president. One, we don't know what the calendar is and what states will be in, but once you do, I think in every one you will have people from left, right, middle, asking people questions, and some of them will be uncomfortable. And a big test of the candidates will be how do they deal with uncomfortable questions.
Hogan, I'm going to ask you something that's either naive or cynical. Could Republicans pay people to go to events posing as DSA people to harass Democratic candidates? Is that something that happens in politics, or they wouldn't do that?
I mean, they could do it. I don't know if they would do it.
But is that the kind of thing that happens?
I'm sure, yeah. I don't know any Republican that is paid to do that type of work, and I don't know why you would if they have their own.
Well, because if every Josh Shapiro event in New Hampshire where he does a town hall has 5 people in the front row who start chanting, genocide, or shut down ICE.
The blowback, first of all, they probably will anyway, but that are actual Democrats, but also it would be the blowback is too much, because if it would take 2 seconds for someone to find out that person was a plant.
Really?
And then the whole thing blows up. Yeah.
Man, I could run that op, and I'm not even an expert.
Would someone like to call Roger Stone and ask him about this?
Exactly. Roger could run it better than I could. Alan, what's the biggest danger you see that the DSA poses to the Democratic Party?
Well, I don't know that it does pose a danger. I mean, I think that it may very well alienate a lot of, people from the party, but I don't know whether it meaningfully alienates enough of the party for it to pose a danger. I mean, there's a lot of people who have criticized the party for being too moderate and lacking energy, and the DSA has the effect of making it less moderate and more energetic. So you could make an argument that perhaps it surges, but I mean, for at least for me personally, I mean, I would have a very hard time voting for any Democrat who I believe is going to be beholden to certain aspects of the DSA in particular. I mean, some aspects of the DSA really overlap with the Democratic Party to begin with, but other aspects, the Israel stuff, the Hamas stuff, the no prisons. I mean, that's not even common sense. I mean, some of these positions, no borders. I mean, to me, if you can't take that kind of thing on, you have no business running for president.
Yeah. Well said, Alan. You speak for tens of millions of Democrats, I think. Thank you, Alan. All right, let me run through some headlines here, just so I don't get accused of not telling everybody what's going on. J.D. Vance, in his speech today, the New York Times says, number one, offered a new defense of the negotiated settlement with Iran. In all honesty, I didn't hear much new in what he said, but here's what he told a group of military officials in Oceania. Number two, please.
If the Iranians try to rebuild the nuclear program, the president's got options, again, because of you. If the Iranians try to threaten their neighbors or fund terrorism, we've got options, again, because of you. But what we must never do is drop bombs just for the sake of dropping bombs. And that is what the president will never ask you to do. He'll ask you to go to war, yes, but when he asks you to go to war, he'll tell you exactly what you're going for, and I think that is what you should expect out of your political leadership.
Now, he said the president has options, but then he also said this regarding the military going back in a large way into Iran. Number three, please.
Can you commit that the U.S. won't return to full-fledged combat operations before the 60-day clock on the MOU is up?
Well, I can't commit to anything because obviously it depends on what the Iranians are ultimately going to do. As I said up there, what I can commit to is the president's not going to send our military back in unless he has to, unless there's a clearly defined purpose for it. I think that was really the contrast I was trying to draw between open-ended military commitments with no clear objective and what the president of the United States has done, which is define an objective, go and accomplish that objective. If we've got to do more, of course, that's kind of up to the Iranians. If they try to rebuild their nuclear program, if they try to start shooting at commercial vessels again, that's going to change our calculus. But right now, what the president has said is go and make a deal, go and negotiate in good faith, and that's what he's empowered us to do.
Hogan, what's your kind of sense now, best case and worst case of where the talks stand with the Iranians?
You know, there's a lot of if-thens in the conversation via the vice president and also President Trump as well, basically giving them a lot of latitude that if Iran does something that they deem worthy of response, that they have those options on the table. This is still an MOU. It's not an ironclad deal of any kind. And I think that's by design because they want to show Iran that if they step out of line, if they do some things that Donald Trump's going to bring the hammer on them again. And so, the prediction or the question I think that's most important is what are the chances, whether they be through some type of betting site or something, of us getting back into kinetic activity against Iran in a full-fledged manner, considering, as you talked about before, Iran has an opportunity here to become a global partner and a good actor on the international stage. I just don't think they'll do it.
Steve, you've consistently been concerned about what the president has done and the status of things. What's your most optimistic assessment of where things stand now?
Well, as I've said many times on this show, Mark, this was a colossal mistake, and we are in a worse position today than we were when we started. We have a more radical government in Iran than when we started. Iran has more leverage than when we started. And Donald Trump could not have sent a clearer signal repeatedly over the last weeks that he has no intention of resuming a war we're resuming bombing. And so I don't know what frankly, we're in a stalemate. We're in a quagmire, terrible word, but that's what Donald Trump didn't say, said we wouldn't end up in. And that's what he has ended up in. And I don't know what the exit plan is.
Okay. President went to North Dakota. I keep meaning to look into this. I don't know. Why is the Teddy Roosevelt thing just opening now? He's been dead for a while. Either of you know why?
What's the nexus with North Dakota? I missed that. I'm
Bureaucratic red tape, Mark. That's how
Red
long
tape.
things take.
Oh, but
when
it's
the government gets involved.
North Dakota, Hogan. It's supposed to be like a red state. Anyway, this is cool. Here's two presidents chatting. 23, please.
sorry. Consider the Panama Canal your greatest achievement?
Well. Right then, yes.
Good answer.
The canal stands as one of my proudest battles, no question. But greatness is a strange thing. It isn't always the biggest or boldest job that matters most. The Panama Canal showed what America could achieve if we held steady and acted fast when the world dragged its feet. That said, I measure my greatest work by the lives improved. Parks set aside, food and drugs made safe, the square deal given to all, not just to a few. Still, when I stood in the mud watching those steam shovels, knowing ships would pass through, changing the world's map forever, I felt I'd left a mark that would last.
Okay, you did. Thank you.
Now, the president did not seem to be enjoying talking to AI Teddy Roosevelt as much as I would, but I would have asked the guy some trick questions like Oasis or Blur and seeing how he'd handle that. Hogan, I'm looking forward to you talking to AI Donald Trump someday. I think that'll be amazing.
Will be.
Yeah. All right. Neither of you know why the North Dakota thing's the way it is. Okay. Here's Kevin Warsh. Kevin Warsh was in Europe today, in Portugal, I think, talking about his philosophy about how to be the Fed chair. Number 24, please.
The jobs will be greater, prosperity will be stronger. The United States is likely to be a big winner over the medium term in this. The U.S. is not afraid of productivity-led economic growth, but we don't view the economics of this as zero sum. We aren't rooting for another country to fail. We're rooting for economic growth to be broad-based. That's good for the United States. It'll make all of our jobs easier. On your question of jobs, I will go back to good Econ 1. It's called the lump of labor fallacy for a reason. Who knew when the internet was born that the internet was going to create 1.5 million jobs as Uber drivers? We are in the first or second inning of this revolution. This is a big paradigm shift, both for the conduct of our policy and for our economies. So we'll be monitoring the speed of it. But if you wanted me to sound like a pessimist and a doomer on this, I'm afraid I'm not there.
Steve, how does that appeal to you as somebody to be a leading economic voice to give people confidence in the American economy? Does he seem good to you?
I think he's going to be a good Fed chair. I think the test obviously will be whether he's independent or not. We'll find out. So far, so good. Look, I think his message is, the Fed chairs don't give a message that appeals to swing voters. Fed chairs give a message that appeals to markets. I would quibble with some of his messaging. I'm not sure that creating a lot of Uber drivers is people's view of what they want to see in the economy. I think they want to see higher paying jobs than that and more full-time jobs than that. But he's an academic, not a politician.
Hogan?
I think Steve's right. I'm comfortable with the picture he's painting. I think leaning more on real people is always important when you're talking about political messaging. And what do those Uber driver jobs mean? If you can explain the paycheck, if you can explain the money that comes in, allowing you to do certain things, and this economy also helps this subset of people and this group, and it allows more opportunity for those to make more money and provide for a family, it's a better message. But overall, I think he's doing a really good job.
How old's Kevin Warsh?
You're obsessed with this guy. You tell me.
56,
Really?
56, mid-50s. I find him more youthful than most previous Fed chairs, maybe all previous Fed chairs, at least in my life. And I think that's a good thing. The TR library, it's not a National Archive thing. It's not like a presidential library. It's privately funded. time to open with the 250th anniversary, and a bunch of billionaires, including Burgum. Secretary Burgum were behind it, as well as the Roosevelt family. It is not easy to get to, though, I'll tell you. Unless you got Air Force One, it's not easy to get to. So hopefully, maybe they'll build. Maybe they'll say again.
The whole state isn't easy to get.
No, that's true. But maybe they'll build some light rail. Well, I mean, it's like not near Bismarck.
We'll get Newsom to do it.
Yeah. All right. A quick word from sponsor, and then to your questions. Please raise your hand if you want to get in the conversation for these two august gentlemen, and you'll have an opportunity in just a moment to do that. Cozy Earth, sponsor of a program all the time. July promo, 20% off, and here's what you can get: bamboo sheet set and beach towels. Great for summer. Viscose made from bamboo. Right now, get 20% off the Cozy Earth beach towel set and the sheet set. Go to cozyearth.com. Use the promo code 2way, 20% off the package of those two things. Bedding comes with a 10-year warranty, 100 nights of hassle-free return, so you can try them with confidence. And if you haven't bought anything on the site, I say this all the time. Two kinds of members of our community: those who have bought at least one thing from Cozy Earth and love it, and those who just ignore me night after night, morning after morning, never done it. If you need anything in the category of home furnishings, sheets, towels, or clothes, just go try it, and you'll see why so many people, including myself, love Cozy Earth. Go to cozyearth.com. Use the promo code 2way for 20% off. Cozyearth.com. And then lastly, yeah.
What percentage of the two-way community do you think has an anti-cozy agenda? Just being anti-cozy.
I think none. I think it's just lackadaisicalness.
Okay,
Lackadaisicality.
That's fine.
There's no reason to be anti-Cozy Earth. It's just great stuff. Also a big hit in my family, Fast Growing Trees, fastgrowingtrees.com. 20% off there too with the promo code 2way. It's America's largest, most trusted online nursery. Thousands of trees and plants, over 2 million happy customers. You just go on the website, fastgrowingtrees.com, put in your zip code, and then you'll get a bunch of choices of stuff you can get. It's fantastic. It's exciting for kids in particular when the stuff shows up at your house. But I think maybe the best thing, besides the selection and just the concept of getting trees, plants, etc., delivered to your house, is how great the customer service is. They will work with you before, during, and after your purchase to make sure that what you have is right for you, and make sure that it grows with their Live and Thrive guarantee. Everything comes healthy and ready to grow, and now's a great time to do it. So if you haven't tried this one yet, I really recommend it to you. We love it in my house. We just keep ordering. We might be a little bit overboard. We're running out of places to put trees and plants, but such is the addiction to fastgrowingtrees.com. Get all the plants you need without the mess of going to the nursery, shoving it in your car, driving it home. You don't need to do that. It comes right to your house. Open the box, plant it outside, or keep it in the pot inside. 20% off your first purchase with the promo code 2way at fastgrowingtrees.com. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Question for Steve and Hogan from Steve. Steve, thank you for being part of 2way. Unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for your namesake and for Hogan Gidley.
Hi. Oh, hi, Mark. Really like your show. I'm in Imperial Beach, California. We're the most southwesterly city in the continental U.S., right on the U.S. border.
Southwesterly city. So what's right across the border? Tijuana?
Tijuana.
Well, name the place you live?
Imperial Beach, California.
Imperial Beach. Is that a red area or a blue area?
We are. I would suggest pretty far left.
Pretty far left. Okay. What kind of agriculture do you have there?
I'm sorry?
What kind of agriculture do you have there?
We have the worst sewage crisis in United States history. So our beach has been closed for the last 30 years.
That's horrible, but 30 years. Do you grow anything?
For the last 4 years, I promise.
4 years. Yeah, okay. Do you grow avocados or carrots or?
Now, we have stuff over more in North County. They have avocado groves up there. A little east of here, they have apple orchards, that kind of stuff. Here along the border, we really don't have much agriculture.
What's the nicest hotel in your town?
The Marriott is probably the only hotel.
Marriott, okay. Hogan, you can get points there. Steve, how long have you lived there, Steve?
25 years.
And what caused the pollution at the beach?
Cross-border sewage from Mexico. So Tijuana is a massive city, and they didn't account for uncontrollable growth.
Yeah.
So the city is real. So they weren't able to manage the infrastructure to process their own sewage. As a result, the stupidity of the Steve's team, the pro-human environmental movement said, let's not clean the water in Mexico. We'll build a secondary treatment plant in San Isidro, one of the most depressed or economically porous neighborhoods in San Diego, where the secondary treatment plant is being forced to process Mexican sewage.
This is a horrible story. Has anybody sued anybody over this?
No, but we do see a little relief because we finally have the Trump administration. Lee Zeldin did the right thing. So this is a Mexican problem. He went to Mexico when he first came in as the EPA administrator, went to Mexico City, told Claudia Sheinbaum, you're going to fix this problem. Here are the timelines. So there's a firm plan. He said, if you don't do this, this is what the repercussions are going to be. So there is a plan
specifically about your community, not a broader problem, just your community.
Yeah, well, we don't have any justice like Flint, Michigan, or Palestine, Ohio. A lot of us are frustrated by it because there's a warp. So you have Steve's team, your guest, who are the anti-human environmental movement, who are fighting this in every way they can.
All right, I'll let you ask your question. I'll just say, if Governor Newsom, if you're lurking on this episode, please turn on your camera and unmute, because I'd love to hear your view of this. But
Governor Newsom refuses to declare this an emergency situation.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm hoping he'll raise his hand and come on in. Steve, thank you for filling me in on all that, and all of us. It's an incredible story that I plan to look into. Maybe do a live show from the beach. Steve, what's on your mind for Steve and for Hogan?
Well, first, I want to point out about Scott Wiener. You showed that clip of him up at the Gay Pride Parade up in San Francisco. Don't shed any tears for this guy. Please, this is a horrible man. And you should look at some of the legislation he passed on that. He's really terrible. And you mean
you don't like his policy positions, or you're asserting he's got bad character?
Well, if you think that having Gavin Newsom sign legislation that allows grown men to have sex with underage boys and not have the repercussions relative to sex offender list, then we might have you and I might have we should have maybe a separate conversation about Scott Wiener's policies.
Okay, but again, are you asserting he's got bad character, or just you disagree with him on policy?
He's got bad character, horrible character. He's just a horrible human being.
Hold on one second. Steve, is he a friend of yours by any chance?
No.
No, okay.
And don't take my word for it. I would suggest that you look at his legislation, look at his record, and then you should have a conversation about it. And he probably will win Nancy Pelosi's seat, most likely.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure he's going to win, but.
Really?
Well, Nancy Pelosi is supporting the woman supervisor.
Yeah,
I would generally bet on who Nancy Pelosi supports.
Yeah, she supported that Kennedy kid, and he didn't do very well.
Yeah, well.
But Steve, are you familiar with Scott Wiener's legislation?
No, I'm not familiar with either one of them. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think I would. Knowing what I know about politics, I would bet whoever Nancy Pelosi is for is more likely.
That is astounding that you don't know about Scott Wiener. Truly.
I don't live in San Francisco.
It doesn't? Oh, really? You don't know? Really? You don't know that our beach has been closed for 3 years? Oh, Steve, you don't know that during your president's open border policy, 50 men were dropped off the Irish Avenue trolley station down 4 miles from my house, 2 miles in either direction of an elementary school every day, 50 unvetted men, because your president and Kamala Harris insisted that they were going to let all these people into the country. Do you have 50 men being dropped off at a bus station in your neighborhood where your children are? And you said nothing, Steve?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Steve, stop. Steve Futterman, stop. Thank you. We got to look into it because you're asking us about stuff we don't know about. We're not going to comment on it. Is there something you wanted to ask about that you haven't gotten to yet?
Yeah, I just want to know if, for the Democrat or any of you, how do the Democrats get out of this communist invasion, or do they accept it? How do they see a way out of this?
Right. Well, we've already talked about that a fair amount.
Okay.
Thank you. Grateful to you for raising all that. I want to read you a tweet from the mayor of New York City, and I'm going to try to read it in an even voice. But when you get to something that jumps out at you, I'm talking to Steve and Hogan now, simulate a game show buzzer. If you hear me say something in his tweet that jumps out at you, just go buzz, and then tell me why it jumps out at you. Ready? I'm going to try my best to read this in an even voice. Okay. But when I get to the thing that jumps out, it's going to be hard for me to not break into falsetto or something. Here we go. For those of you who don't know, it's incredibly hot in New York today, but it's about to get much hotter. About to be like over 100. Okay, here we go. New York, it's hot out there, and the power grid is working overtime to keep us cool. Set your AC to 78 degrees, turn off lights, electronics you're not using, and unplug what you can. Our city is doing its part too, maintaining the 78-degree rule in our buildings. Guys, 78 degrees? That's what you're supposed to be buzzing at. Does that not seem very warm to you?
It's ridiculous. And yes, it's very warm.
Steve, what's the AC on and where you're sitting now?
Probably 72.
Really?
Yeah. And it's 100. It's over 100 in Washington today.
I know. When the Astrodome opened, well, do you remember what they famously set the temperature at? Either of you know?
No.
68 degrees. Steve, you keep your AC on 72?
72. Sometimes I go to 75, Mark. I'm a thrifty guy.
All right, no wonder you didn't jump at 78 degrees. If somebody told me to set my air conditioner at 78, I'd say, well, let's sell it and buy a fan. 78?
I was going to buzz at 78 because that's what triggered my mind. But as you kept reading, I thought there's got to be something he's going to say that's even worse because of this guy's so bad. But no, 78 is pretty bad.
You know who agrees with me? Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy, Twitter response to the mayor. 78 degrees. Welcome to communism, people. Hope you enjoy. Steve, I'm gonna make you sit in 78 for an hour and see what you think. Here's my mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, I love Gotham City. I love my mayor. I do not love the heat. Here's the mayor of New York City talking about how hot it is and making a Taylor Swift joke, who's getting married in Madison Square Garden this weekend, reportedly. Number 17, please.
8 months to be a fan in New York City, but this week it's about to get a lot tougher. We are entering what could be the most extreme heat wave this city has seen in over a decade. It can hit 100 degrees, with temperatures feeling as hot as 112 and staying hot into the weekend. We're ready, but we want to make sure you are too, especially if you're celebrating the World Cup or the 4th of July, or renting out MSG to get married. Hypothetically. The most important thing you can do in this heat is to stay indoors with air conditioning. This is crucial for kids, older adults, those with respiratory or heart conditions, as well as for your pets. Now, if you do go out, be mindful of signs of heat stroke, including confusion, dizziness, nausea, and trouble breathing. Call 911 immediately if you or someone you know is experiencing these symptoms. If you don't have AC, or yours simply isn't cutting it, find one of NYC's cooling centers, like this library. Visit nyc.gov/beattheheat to find one of the hundreds of cooling centers open near you, now through Saturday. You can also call 311 or just look outside. Link NYC kiosks will display directions to a nearby cooling center. If you're working outside in this heat, it's important to be extra careful and know your rights. If you're a delivery worker, you have the right to use the bathroom at any business you are picking up from. And remember, the city's protected time off law applies to heat-related health issues as well. We're especially concerned about keeping homeless New Yorkers safe. That's why, for the first time in city history, we're deploying pool vans that will provide any New Yorker who needs it medical care, water, and transport to cooling centers. We're also increasing street canvassing.
All right, enough of this. Hogan, what do you think of that video, besides the horrible music?
Well, I mean, look, I don't need the heat for the symptoms he talked about. Every time I hear him, I'm dizzy and confused and nauseous. Yeah. But what does he mean we're ready? Ready for what?
Cooling stations are open. Bottles of water available, and they built apparently a secret garden in Madison Square Garden for the wedding. They're ready. But
is he going to force them to go to 78 degrees, or that's just a suggestion?
It's recommendation. But Steve Elmendorf is going to be on TikTok making a video tomorrow night saying Mark was right. I tried it on 78 for a few minutes, and I melted like the snowman in Frozen. Steve, you know the name of the snowman in Frozen?
I do not. Hogan? Well, I like that video. I thought, look, I didn't love the music, but look, I think one thing about Mondami is he is a very talented political communicator.
He is.
He's been very focused since the first snowstorm in New York on when local things are happening. He is very aggressive about showing that he has a plan and that he's using the city's resources to execute the plan.
He is, although all the homeless people all over my neighborhood that didn't exist before he was mayor might feel otherwise.
Yeah.
My Kevin, welcome, Kevin. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. Tell everyone who doesn't know where you are and your question for Steve and for Hogan.
I am temporarily in Florida, but I live in outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Beautiful places.
And yes, coming across our 250th anniversary, it just seems like government does not work anymore. So after the midterms, nothing's going to change. In the early 1900s, we were a population of 90 million people, and we had 435 House of Representatives. It's 2026, and we have 350 million people, and we still have 435 representatives. Is there, to make government better, do you think we would be better off with more actually House of Representatives to reflect the population, term limits, and I often hear a tax on billionaires of 90% or 50%.
Yeah.
How about we tax every political contribution 50% to go fund the new House of Representatives?
Interesting.
It just
idea.
seems like
yeah.
they
Right.
don't ever. I mean,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, thank you for
yeah.
Kevin. Thank you. Let's
Thank
find out. Hogan, thank you for that. Hogan, thoughts on Kevin's ideas?
Yeah, I mean, government's designed to move slowly. It's designed to be frustrating. I can't tell if our founding fathers were sadistic or brilliant or a combination of both. But rapid change is not something that the system is set up to accommodate. Trump has done what he can do to change things quicker than I ever thought possible and as quickly as he can. But you still have to run things through branches of government, as you well know, some of which are again, by design, move very slowly. So I get it. I know it's frustrating. But I mean, that's kind of the system we live in. So happy birthday, America. This wonderful nation is about to celebrate 250 years with a constitution that has stood the test of time, where the average lifespan of a country's constitution is 17 years. So I think they've done something right.
Steve.
As frustrating as it can be.
I worked in the Congress for 20 years. I'm not certain that having more of them is the answer to our problem.
You're telling me.
Well,
Yeah.
it's about more representation. I mean, you're talking about 435 people representing 350 million people. That's 900,000 people per representative. That's not, and
Yeah.
they would take care of their redistricting and everything. I mean, you'd have more representation. If you had to have more compromise, I think. I mean,
Yeah, you make a good point.
Well, I
because
guess
nothing's going to change. It's all going to stay the same.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you. Kevin mentioned 250th anniversary. Lots going on this weekend connected to July 4th, 250. New episode of Next Up tomorrow coming out. Amongst my guests, pre-tape with Victor Davis Hanson. Here's a preview of the show that drops tomorrow. Victor Davis Hanson talking about America at 250. That's number 28, please.
We have the longest constitutional stability of any consensual government in the world. We're the largest producer in history of gas and oil. Fuel is always important for civilizations. We're the largest food producer. We've recaptured the initiative in space, satellites, robotics, AI. China was supposed to, at this point, surpassed our GDP, but that didn't happen.
For a birthday present, let's put together an all-star team of America.
The most substantial person by far in our generation is Elon Musk. Martin Luther King, Mark Twain especially.
Happy anniversary, and thank you for celebrating America's 250 with us.
All right, that drops tomorrow, and I'll tell you in a bit in my Substack what else we have in store for the special July 4th episode.
Better music than Mondami's video, Mark.
Yeah, that's my theme music for Next Up, as you know, Hogan.
Yeah.
Steve and Hogan, thank you both for being here. Steve, you got big plans for the 4th?
I'll be in Lewis, Delaware, and we have a parade there, Mark, called the Doodah Parade.
The Doodah, is that hyphenated?
It's small town America. It's great. Much better than what will be happening in Washington.
Is Doodah hyphenated, though?
It is hyphenated, yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it means.
You know the Yogi Berra joke, he was sponsoring, he was endorsing Mountain Dew. Or no, not Mountain Dew. What's the name of that drink? What's that chocolate drink? Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo? Yeah. That chocolate drink. Yoo-hoo? And the lady said to him, is that hyphenated? And he said, lady, it isn't even carbonated. It's one of my favorite Yogi ones because it's not as well known as some of the others. Hogan, it gets late out there early. What are you doing for the 4th?
I'll be in South Carolina, most likely, not in DC either. Steve and I have the same mindset on that.
Steve, you're going to be outside for a long spell in the heat?
Hey,
It's not going to be as hot in Lewis, Delaware
It's not.
as it is
Hey,
in Washington, D.C.
down in the mall where they're supposed to have like members of Congress or whatever, if you want to show up for 11 o'clock.
Fireworks, yeah.
Fireworks. They have to be there at 4 in the afternoon.
Yes, and a lot of security to get through.
4, man.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's like saying, hey, you guys work on the Hill in the air condition, come back here for the 4th, but this time stand outside.
Yeah, it's going to be hotter than 78 degrees there. And of course, the big Taylor Swift wedding. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We're off on Friday. So tomorrow is the last morning meeting, and tomorrow night, 23 hours from now, the last two-way tonight of the week. Thank you all for being here. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And again, great thanks to Steve and Hogan, as always, for being here, guys. Have a great night, everybody.